Hi everyone.
Hello.
Welcome.
This time we're talking about monkeys.
welcome. Welcome to. I wanted to say welcome to Donkey Kong Country, but welcome to that too.
Yes, that's where we're recording from, live from Donkey Kong Country.
But mostly
None
welcome.
of those words are correct.
Mostly welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club, the show of which I know the name.
I'm so proud of you because I still don't.
I keep having to retype my file names and things because I keep typing Super Best Friends Club, which is
But we're not super best friends.
No, Super Best Friends exists already. That's a YouTube.
Oh.
That's a YouTube thing, I believe, and I also believe that they no longer exist because they stopped being friends.
Well, that clears the way for us and saves us from any future litigation.
Yeah, we're clearly the better super best friends because we're actually still best friends.
Because that's not actually what we are. We're breakfast friends. We're friends only during breakfast. During lunch and dinner, we speak to other people.
Oh.
Were you not aware of this? Was it not made clear in our contract?
So, Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong, the forbidden show that has haunted my nightmares.
Well, before we begin talking about that, let's take a little trip back in time.
To whence?
To 1980.
To the original Donkey Kong?
Yes, so in 1980, in Nintendo, in the arcade Nintendo town.
Nintendo?
Shigeru Miyamoto, who we mentioned last episode.
You may have heard of him.
He's had his hand in all these pies. He was involved in Pokemon. He was a lot more heavily involved in Donkey Kong, being the only person who did it. I don't know, there might have been some other people who worked on it that no one talks about.
But they cowered in his shadow.
So he made Donkey Kong, the original arcade game. Donkey Kong was the villain of Donkey Kong.
That is kind of wild. Like, yeah. What other games are named after the villain?
I know, yeah. Imagine if Sonic the Hedgehog was just called Dr. Eggman.
I would love it. But then, would Mean Bean Machine belong to Sonic?
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog's Mean Bean Machine. And we'd all be like, wow, it's weird that Sonic's name is in the title of this one. Like, they could have set the precedent. If Pac-Man hadn't come first and set the precedent that the hero is the name of the game, then Donkey Kong would have been the one setting a precedent that it's the villain. And then, we'd be playing Dr. Wily X.
I would love to play Dr. Wily X, and I'm kind of sad that I'm not in that universe.
Well, I mean, it would be the exact same game.
Oh, I know it would.
Okay. So all you want is for us to make you a hack of the title screen.
Basically, yes. Let me think that Dr. Wily is somehow more involved in this title than he is, and I will be happy.
Especially since I don't believe he's in X at all.
Doesn't matter. He's the name of the franchise.
Yeah, it's the
now.
name of the franchise. There's nothing you can do about it.
But then we got outliers like Zelda.
Yeah.
She's not the villain or the hero. She's just there.
Yeah, that's like if you that's like if Mario was well, I guess it's like if Mario was called Princess Peach. Anyway,
she does have a game though.
She does have a game. Nobody played it.
No.
It was good though. I liked it.
So Donkey Kong.
So Donkey Kong was an arcade game in 1980. It was kind of a trailblazer one. But
you may have heard of him.
However, it doesn't really help us to talk about that beyond, saying that that's where it all came from originally. Because this show has absolutely nothing to do. That arcade game starred Mario. Mario was trying to rescue his girlfriend from Donkey Kong. His girlfriend, things didn't work out with her. That was Pauline.
Oh, right, Pauline.
Yeah, she still shows up every now and then, but...
Isn't she like a mayor now?
Yeah, she's doing really well for herself. I think I don't know who did the breaking up, actually. I was going to say being dumped by Mario helped her a lot, but we don't know.
Let's be real.
Yeah, he's not dumping anybody, is he? I don't know, maybe he found fame and then suddenly he's too good for this this lounge singer.
Maybe she just couldn't put up with
princess now. Maybe
his head got too big and he was too toxic to live with.
Yeah, and she was like, "I'm the mayor now. You need to." I can't. Yeah, maybe she's too good to be dating a plumber anymore.
I'm the mayor of an entire planet.
Yeah, there are no mentions of arcade Donkey Kong in any form in this show because it's all entirely based on the Super Nintendo. I don't know if I want to call it a reboot. Was Donkey Kong Country? It's not really it's something happened. That's the best way I can describe it.
Reincarnation.
Yeah.
Where we took the battered and broken corpse of Donkey Kong and gave him a little friend.
Because Donkey Kong had been missing for quite some time. The original Donkey Kong phase was before I was born. Before you were born, too.
You're older than me. I would hope it was before both of us.
Yeah. I was just like, this'll imply that I'm the younger one.
Oh, don't you dare do that to me. I only hang out with you because you're older than me and make me feel young.
I'm not that much older.
No, but I'll take any amount of older, really. If you were a month older than me, I'd be like, he's the old one.
Okay.
I'm just a small spring chicken.
I'm just a fresh-faced baby boy. So anyway, Donkey Kong had been missing for quite some time.
And yet they didn't go looking for him like when Mario went missing.
No, of course. I didn't even know what Donkey Kong was before Donkey Kong Country, really. It was such a weird period because Donkey Kong was still part of the Mario franchise, but they really hadn't referenced him in a while. But we had Donkey Kong Jr. in Super Mario Kart.
Spawn of Kong.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm a little kid playing Super Mario Kart. I don't know who Donkey Kong is, but I know who Donkey Kong Jr. is. But I just think he's a Mario Kart character. I think I had some inkling that he was from somewhere else. Because he's in like none of the other Mario games I've played up to this point.
It doesn't matter. He exists in a vacuum.
Yeah. So, in the mid-90s, Nintendo were looking for something to compete with the Aladdin game on the
Aladdin
/ Genesis. Yes.
Specifically Aladdin? Like, don't get me wrong, that game slaps.
Yeah. It was the big system mover in 90 what 92, 93, 93 I
I didn't
think.
realize it had that big of an impact.
It yeah, I'm surprised too. I do remember at the time that they were selling systems bundled with it because that's what they had at the rental place near me. You could rent a console if you didn't have one, and the one that you could rent was the Aladdin one. I never rented it because I already had a Mega Drive, but you would go in, you would see the Aladdin system just sitting up on the shelf.
I wonder if that's how we got it, because I don't really know how it came into existence in our house.
Maybe, but it was the big system seller of that year.
Interesting.
A lot of it was because it used this new graphics technology where they were actually using hand-drawn animation in the game.
Fancy.
So a lot of the animation in Aladdin, only in the Mega Drive Genesis version, not the Super Nintendo version, was actually animated by Disney animators.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and I remember watching a documentary about it way back in the day. It was fancy. And they went on to use that same technology for Earthworm Jim as well.
Neato. I don't have a lot of memories of Aladdin. Mostly I just remember skipping the levels to go straight to the genie world.
Oh, of course. Mostly I remember that one time I got out of the marketplace.
Wow! Fancy big man over here!
I don't think I really ever skipped to other... I think I did... Because I have it on the Switch now. They ported it to the Switch.
That's right. That and Lion King.
Yes. And
My other jam.
I played Aladdin, and I actually finally got to the Cave of Wonders, and then I died on the lava chase.
I think that's as far as I used to be able to get as a kid. Maybe a couple times I accidentally got beyond that, but the lava chase was bullshit.
It's a hard game.
Yes, it is.
Also, I assume this probably affected Aladdin, but I know with The Lion King, Disney were really worried that kids were gonna rent the game and finish it and then not buy it, so they would deliberately make the game really unfair.
Those bastards.
Yeah, that's why the Can't Wait to Be King monkey roaring segment exists.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
It's just there to make sure you can't beat the game in a weekend if you rented it.
That and when you would ride the ostrich and have to jump over obstacles, there was one that the timing was impossible.
Yep, on purpose.
On purpose.
To compete with Sega and their we've got Disney animators drawing our game innovation, Nintendo were looking for something similar, and they were impressed with what Rare were doing with pre-rendered 3D stuff.
And Donkey Kong did look great.
I don't know.
You don't think Donkey Kong looks great?
I don't know. I've never really liked pre-rendered 3D, even at the time. I remember I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I had an uncle who was the same age as me, because that can happen.
You had an
sometimes.
uncle that worked for Nintendo?
He wishes. No, I have an uncle who's the same age as me, because when you have young parents, that's the thing that can happen.
Yep.
You can have an uncle that's born the same year as you, and it's not weird.
Cousin uncle.
Yeah, I most of the time I just tell people he's my cousin, because it's easier.
Yeah.
People understand that.
Uncle implies a different relationship.
Yeah. So he had the Super Nintendo and I had the Mega Drive, and we would spend summers together.
And with your forces combined.
Yeah, we would play all the games. That's why I have a pretty good spread of video games at that time, because of that arrangement. But we would go and we would rent Super Nintendo games to play, and I remember around 95, I guess it will have been, we would get into heated debates about whether we should rent Yoshi's Island or Donkey Kong Country.
That is a tough one, to be fair.
He wanted Donkey Kong Country because he said it looks better. And I disagreed. I think Yoshi's Island looks better, and I still think Yoshi's Island looks better to this day.
I think that they're not really comparable. Because
I think so too.
Totally different looks.
I think so too. But I just don't like pre-rendered 3D graphics that much. I never really have. Like
I
I think they took Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and they remade it with pre-rendered graphics and it like removed so much of the charm from those
I
old
get
2D
that, but
sprites.
like at the time, because this was before the wild polygons of the PlayStation era, I thought that it was incredible looking.
It's I don't want to sound like I'm like shitting on it too much because it's revolutionary. It's absolutely revolutionary. And you know, it kind of changed the whole face of video games for years to come.
Hmm.
I would say I don't think it was the first to do it, but I would say Donkey Kong Country definitely ushered in an era of 3D in
I
video
would say it
games.
was the best to do it because
Yes.
Donkey Kong Country, as much as I hate those games, I love them.
Yes. So Nintendo saw these pre-rendered graphics, they thought, "Hey, this is what we'll have to compete." And it worked. Donkey Kong Country was absolutely a system seller. People were buying that console just to play Donkey Kong Country.
I feel like that was the only reason I wanted a Super Nintendo because we had the Sega and I had a best friend who had the Super Nintendo and we would play Donkey Kong all the time and I would just seethe with jealousy.
I get it.
Whatever. The Sega had an awesome sound chip and we had NBA Jam, so
So Nintendo gave Rare Donkey Kong and they said, "Do something with it." Because we're not.
we found this smelly old gorilla corpse. Do you want it?
There was a time when it was the biggest name they had. They had Universal Studios suing them over the Donkey Kong franchise. And then they just forgot it for 10 years and Mario became the thing.
They fought too hard and they got too tired.
And in the end, it didn't even matter.
Put that back in your mouth.
Rare took Donkey Kong and they set to work kind of creating a whole new Donkey Kong franchise from the ground up, not involving Mario at all. They gave us Diddy Kong.
Do you call him a pretty cool guy?
I was reading about where Diddy Kong came from.
Where did he come from? I get it.
Fuck you. Diddy Kong, the idea behind Diddy Kong was that they were looking for a way to elegantly show your hit points without cluttering the screen up with, health bars and stuff.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, so they thought about how when Mario gets hurt, he shrinks, and that's how you know you're close to dying. And
So Diddy Kong is just a shrunken Donkey Kong.
yes, Diddy Kong is just your health bar.
And that's all you throw him at things.
And when they created him, they intended for him to be Donkey Kong Jr. But
Oh.
then Nintendo took a look at this new design and they said, "That's not Donkey Kong Jr. You have to either redesign him to look more like Donkey Kong Jr. or make this a new character."
That can't be Donkey Kong Jr. It's not even the same kind of monkey.
It's true, he's got a tail.
DK's an ape and Diddy Kong's some kind of tail having Goku.
Yeah, he is. I wonder if he already had the tail back when it was supposed to be Donkey Kong Jr. or if they added
Probably not. I feel like that would be kind of silly of them.
that. The other major character added for the game was King K. Rool.
Do you ever find out like anything about this whole like crocodile reptile war?
Not a great deal. I did look into it. Well, we'll talk about that when we start talking about the actual show.
Okay.
But I read about King K. Rool's creation, and Greg Mayles, the guy who created the character,
Mhm.
says that he was not expected to be an enduring character, so they didn't really put much thought into his name.
Makes sense.
He was almost named King Crud.
I wish that he was.
And then we've got Cranky Kong.
Oh, Cranky Kong. I love Cranky.
So Cranky is the original Donkey Kong. They were thinking about the legacy of Donkey Kong when they made Cranky, so they thought, if we've got this new Donkey Kong, why don't we put in his grandfather and make that the original Donkey Kong?
I like that they tried to make sense of the mess that they were handed.
Yeah, they kind of made it more of a mess.
Well,
The Donkey Kong family tree has become very confusing because originally they said that Cranky was the grandfather of the current DK, and
mhm,
then they said that he was the father of the current DK, which would make the current DK Donkey Kong Jr.
mhm.
And then they said that the current DK is the original DK, and that
Oh,
Cranky's just his unrelated grandfather.
they don't even know who Cranky is. He just wandered onto the island one day.
And now they're back to the current Donkey Kong is the son of Donkey Kong Jr. and Cranky is the original Donkey Kong.
Are they having a laugh?
They might be. They might be.
For people who take video game lore way too seriously.
I was just taken aback by the very British wording of what you said.
I think that that's a phrase that needs to come to America because I love it, but I have never heard an American say it.
No, me neither before now.
It's a good phrase, and I vote we bring it into law.
Legally. This phrase is now legally binding. Alright, I'm done talking about Donkey Kong games. Let's talk about the show. But first, I've
This
still got
continent.
background. I've still got background on the show that I need to.
Oh, that's right. You said that there was some kind of
Oh, there's so much.
dark legacy.
There's so much to talk about here. Right.
Oh boy.
So the show first aired on Wednesday, September 4th, 1996, on France 2.
That always gets me that this is a French Donkey Kong show.
It was aired as part of La Planète du Donkey Kong.
What does that mean?
Well, it was a programming block with all kinds of other shows that they would air and interviews with celebrities and things. And Mel, we will be returning to La Planète du Donkey Kong at the end of the
Praise the
show
Lord.
today. Because, oh boy, do I have some things to say about La Planète du Donkey Kong. The first time it aired in English was on Teletoon in Canada on October 17th, 1997. It was a launch program for the channel.
Okay, that makes sense. It's France Jr.
Yep. It was also a launch program for Fox Family in America a little bit later. Here's something wild that you might not be prepared to hear.
Do it. Drop it on my plate.
This show was a massive hit in Japan.
Why?
It aired on TV Tokyo, and possibly, I was trying to figure out why Japan loves it so much, and it's possibly because of the casting choices. Get ready to hear some of these.
Do it.
Donkey Kong is played by the actor who played Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop.
All right.
Diddy Kong is played by, I have a list of characters here
Oh boy.
for the voice of Diddy Kong. I'm going to start with our favorite, previous guest of the show, Minky Momo.
Yes.
She was also Faye Valentine, also in Cowboy Bebop.
Did they just get the cast of Cowboy Bebop to be the Donkey Kong crew?
She was Rey in Evangelion,
Okay.
and she is the voice of Jessie from Pokemon.
Wow. Is this just a recurring character for the rest of our show?
It might be.
Should she just be the mascot for our show?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. And also, Cranky was the voice of Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. That's
Nice.
that's as far as they went into the Japanese cast. But I think just DK and Diddy alone, I was like, yeah, okay, those are some big names.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason it was such a hit.
Maybe just because it's so bonkers, cuckoo bananas.
Yeah, that too. That's why I love it.
Let me tell you, I've been thinking about Bobobo lately.
By the time the show aired, we already had Donkey Kong Country 2, and Donkey Kong Country 3 came out 2 months after the show first aired in France. So by the time America got it, it had been out for almost a year.
And all of our dreams were ruined.
There's nothing from Donkey Kong Country 3 in this show, as far as I can tell, at any point.
Does Dixie show up at some point?
Dixie shows up, yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
She's not in this
Oh,
first
yes!
episode.
Yes, she does. I remember.
I don't think she's ever in it very much, but she's in it. The problem is Dixie, at least at this point in Donkey Kong history, Dixie really just exists as Diddy's sidekick. And Diddy's already the sidekick in this show.
It was like in Neopets, where your pet could have a pet. That's Dixie Kong.
Yeah. She's a pet
Dixie Kong
pet.
is great because she could fly.
I love Dixie. I always wanted to play Dixie when we rented Donkey Kong Country 2.
Diddy Kong was the hot shit of the first one, but then he got outdone in his own game.
Yep. Well, just like he outdid DK in his own game.
Yeah, true.
But Kitty did not manage the same.
Oh, Kitty
feat.
did not have the same charm.
Poor Kitty.
I never even got very far in Donkey Kong Country 3. I was like,
Me neither.
this lacks joy.
Yeah, I didn't like Kitty. I didn't like the elephant.
I don't even remember anything except disappointment.
Just give me Rambi. Just give me Espresso. Where's On Guard? On Guard
Yeah,
might have been in it,
On Guard.
actually. I don't know. Anyway, we got 2 seasons and 40 episodes
40 episodes
of Donkey Kong Country. It was produced by Nelvana, a Canadian studio, who have done... So I looked into Nelvana's... I'd heard of them before, but I looked into their back catalogue.
Their dubious past.
They're one of those studios that they make a million B-tier shows, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody knows something that Nelvana have done.
And nobody likes anything that
No.
Nelvana
They're the kind of things where, like, you like them, but they're usually not some of the first things you think of.
You like them, but you don't tell people you like them.
I've got a list of... I didn't list everything I'd heard of, because there were tons of things I've heard of.
Mm-hmm.
But I did make a list here of some of what I consider the top tier Nelvana things.
Okay.
This does not mean it's an endorsement of all these things. This is not me saying I'm a fan of all these things.
This is simply a list.
This is simply a list. I am a fan of some of them. So we got Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
Care Bears.
Okay.
The Magic School Bus.
Oh boy, that's a blast from the past.
We got the Sam and Max TV series.
Okay.
Which might be the exact culinary opposite of the Magic School Bus, now that I think
Yes,
about
I believe so.
it. We got the Card Captors dub,
Oh boy.
which we talked about recently.
We've spoken about it a lot, but yes, recently.
And
Why do we keep talking about card captors?
because it's great. And Beyblade.
Yes, let it rip.
The animation was by Media Lab Studio, which is a studio in France. Yeah, Media Lab Studio were making this show in 1996, and they filed for bankruptcy in 2000.
I definitely thought you were going to say filed for divorce from Donkey Kong.
The show is groundbreaking, Mel.
It broke something for sure, and I think it was me.
Technically groundbreaking. Motion capture technology.
Motion capture?
Everything in this show is motion capture. You couldn't tell?
I mean, yes and no, because there were some parts that were so like overdone in how they moved, and then there were other parts that were extremely stiff and horrible.
Yeah. The mocap actors could actually see their performance playing out in real time, apparently, while they were in the suit.
So that's why sometimes they just stop and gawk in horror.
Who wouldn't? But there were some heavy limitations on what could be done.
Okay, that makes more sense.
They couldn't animate any characters picking up objects.
Why?
It was just too hard to do.
Okay.
What you'll see, and I looked back at the show and I could absolutely see this happening. They'll reach off camera and grab something, and then their hand will come back holding it. It's most noticeable when it comes to the birthday cake. We'll get to it when we get to it, but
We'll get to it.
there's a scene with the birthday cake which involves multiple characters picking up the birthday cake and doing things with it, all of which happen off camera.
I have a note in my notes that basically this entire show happens off camera.
Again, yeah, down to the limitations. They were heavily discouraged from writing in any new locations or characters, other than the small handful they were given.
Guys, this is already way too much. Don't. We can't.
They were denied an Emmy nomination for not being
How
considered
could
true
they?
animation.
What? That's bonkers.
Well, it's all motion capture, and I guess the Emmy people were like, "You didn't animate this. You just put on a suit and wiggled around."
Yes.
I get.
Somebody made those monkey models.
There's a whole debate about this. I've got friends who work in motion capture, and for the most part, motion capture animation, you take the motion capture data, and then you have to animate a lot on top of it to make it look any good.
Hmm.
I don't believe this show did any of that part.
No, I would argue they did not.
I think they just put the straight motion capture in the show. That's what it looks like to me. Originally, Media Lab were doing the whole show alone, apparently. But after they had written 13 episodes, they fired the entire writing staff because the scripts were full of racist and sexist jokes.
Okay. I think I can understand why they did that. Yeah.
Ugh, people.
Gross.
Yep. So Media Lab approached Nelvana and asked them to take over the writing, and Nelvana handled all of the acting as well. Even the French acting was mostly done in Canada. I think there were a couple of characters who were recorded in France.
Isolated in a booth.
Definitely. And all the music was done in Canada.
Oh, the music.
But yes, apparently, when Nelvana took over writing, the storyboarding had already been done for the first 13 episodes.
Oh no.
Media Lab were like, we've already started animating the first 13 episodes based on these storyboards, so please write around these storyboards. So they had to write new stories just based on visuals that had already been finalized.
Okay. Okay, things are starting to come together now.
Yeah. So some of what we're about to see may now make some sense.
I dread to think what the original could have been.
The first episode is called Bad Hair Day.
Boy, is it.
This episode is written by Nadine van der Velde.
She did what she could.
She's also written for Nancy Drew and Roly Poly Oly.
A lucrative career.
And probably a few other things. Those are the ones that stood out for me. Basically, what you'll find with this show in general is that 90% of the people who worked on it are just Nelvana staff. They work on
whoever was close by.
basically, yeah. Nelvana used the same people for basically everything. So the people who worked on this have worked on a million other Nelvana shows, and that's it. The music is by Pure West. I looked them up. They're a pair of Toronto musicians, Paul Kaufman and Tim Foy.
Did they write like the lyric songs?
Everything.
Oh no.
Everything. Yeah, there's
no.
we're not getting any DK Island swing in this show. That's what drove me crazy about it. Donkey Kong Country has a phenomenal soundtrack. I would say it's the best thing about it.
I would agree with that, yeah.
David Wise wrote the soundtrack to the game, and it's absolutely incredible. None of it's in this show.
They couldn't afford David Wise prices.
We could have had some DK Island swing, but we didn't. So I looked in the people who did. I looked up the people who did do this, and I said that in a really derogatory way, which I didn't mean. I'm sure they're very nice people, and I'm sure they work very hard, and I do have some nice things to say about some of the work they did in this, actually.
Okay, because
But-
I've got some things to say.
But here's some of their other work. They did the soundtrack to PJ Masks, which is an educational Nelvana show, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
They did the soundtrack to Bob the Builder, the 2018
All right.
version. The 2018 version.
I know.
No, it's the 2018 version, Mel.
You
don't know
you
this.
say that like that means anything to me.
Well, it means nobody. It means doesn't mean anything to anyone. 2018? That was 4 years ago.
Yeah, but Bob's still building. Good for him.
But who's heard about him in the last 4 years? Not me.
Children? I don't know. They're the ones that are supposed to know who he is to begin with. Why do we know who Bob the Builder is?
I just know that the Pure West Bob the Builder song is not getting a #1 hit in the UK like the original Bob the Builder did.
Your country is bananas.
But no, here's the part of their filmography that I was very excited to share with you.
Okay.
They've done a number of soundtracks to movies.
Such as?
A Very Country Christmas. A Very Country Wedding.
Ooh.
Christmas Wedding Planner. Hometown Holiday.
These all sound like quality films.
And Love by Accident.
Oops.
Ah, shit.
Oh, damn it, I'm in love. It was an accident, I swear.
But anyway, let's talk about the show. Let's talk about the theme song.
It's a banger.
I love it.
I don't like to admit it, but I was feeling it.
It's been in my head all week.
No. Every time I think about the Banana Slammer.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, it's really good. It's the best part of the whole show.
It's good.
Then the actual show starts, and we're immediately met with a much less good song.
Cranky Kong is just banging on a pipe organ. It is the most cacophonous noise I have ever heard, and he is what I would loosely call singing a song.
Some people call me negative. They don't like my frown. They all try to cheer me up, but I'm down with being down. I know what you're thinking. He's a genius, 'cause I am, 'cause I'm cranky. I got my finger on the beat. Yeah, I'm cranky.
Here's the thing about that, right? At the beginning, I was like, it sounds like it's just the voice actor, making up something. It sounds like they've just asked him to make up something on the spot. But then about halfway through, there's almost a shift. And you realize, oh, no, hang on. These are actually written lyrics that he's singing. Somebody wrote this.
I wouldn't even say halfway through. I would say every other line there's a shift.
Cranky, known for his pipe organ playing, of course.
And his beautiful falsetto voice.
Well, in the games, Cranky's thing is that he never shuts up about old video games.
Hmm.
He's all about arcade games and like the original Game Boy and stuff. I don't think he mentions video games at all in the show.
No, he just never shuts up.
Yeah, he talks so fast at the beginning there that I could barely understand what he was saying.
For example, you come to see the most prized possession on the entire island. Who do you come to see? Me.
Yeah, there were a lot of things going on that pretty much my entire first page of notes is just about this pipe organ part.
He's there to give us exposition. He's supposed to explain the entire show to us here before the show starts.
A very heavy-handed.
And
just this is what you need to know.
It's so fast. I couldn't even take it. It's not even that complicated, and I couldn't take it in.
No. I was mostly distracted by the fact that he got up and started singing and the pipe organ just kept playing itself.
Oh, yeah. That means he was faking it the whole time, I guess. Which, to be fair, would be very in character for Game Cranky.
True.
So Cranky is played by Aaron Tager, who is an artist. He has sculptures installed at schools and parks in Vermont.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's plural, like various schools. I think he had.
Yeah.
I found one that was at an elementary school, one that was at a high school, and one that was at a college. So he's got the whole curriculum covered.
And in his spare time, he is a geriatric ape.
I found one very specific credit in his filmography that I felt the need to bring to your attention.
Please, my attention is ready.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Mm-hmm.
He is the recurring antagonist, Dr. Vink.
Dr. Vink!
And he is Zebo.
Zebo the Clown?
Zebo the Clown.
So he's like two characters in the first... No, Dr. Vink wasn't in the first episode. What am I thinking of? Or I don't know.
I think he might have been, because wasn't he like the fairground?
That's what I was thinking. I don't think... Did he go by Dr. Vink then?
Maybe not, but it was definitely him.
Dr. Vink. Yeah, and then he goes on to be the clown stalking the child.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he's also in Goosebumps, but you know, who cares about Goosebumps when you've got Are You Afraid of the Dark? The better Goosebumps. When I was a kid, I loved Goosebumps, but Are You Afraid of the Dark was definitely the better of the two.
I never really watched Goosebumps. I don't think I had the channel, but I was obsessed with Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, it was great. Are You Afraid of the Dark is the better one. I don't feel worried about saying that on the internet.
That's not a controversial topic.
In this show, so Cranky introduces us to the crystal coconut.
Oh my god, I had to stop and pause and go back to get the full list of what this crystal coconut allegedly does.
Do you have it written down? Because I didn't.
I do. It is allegedly a fortune teller, a teleporter, a power supplier, and a wish fulfiller.
Oh, we see it do none of those things.
Well, I think we see it do a scene transition, right? Like you look into it and you see Donkey Kong, and then it swaps to that scene.
So it's an editor.
I guess so.
The crystal coconut basically replaces the banana horde in this show, and
it does, but there's still like a banana horde.
Yeah, but it's not. That's not what the Kremlings are after now.
No, it does exist, and it is just the power forest.
It is just the power forest.
I reached a point in this show where I was like, are we literally just watching Pac-Man again?
Oh my god, are we? Oh, is this just Pac-Man again?
It's a reskin of Pac-Man.
For this show, King K. Rool, he really wants to get the crystal coconut.
We aren't told why.
yeah,
He's just after it.
it's not. Yeah, in the games he really wants the banana horde, and we are told why. It's because he really likes bananas. I looked it up.
And that is a great reason.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that's the thing, because I had in my mind, I was like, have we ever been told why he wanted the banana horde? So I went away and I looked it up, and yeah, the Donkey Kong Country manual and also various Super Smash Bros. Games have confirmed that King K. Rool wants Donkey Kong's banana horde because he likes bananas.
Because he's hungry.
Yeah, he's hungry and he needs the potassium. DK appears. See, while you were writing down what the list of things that the Crystal Coconuts does, I was writing down the list of things that Cranky told us Donkey Kong is, as he appears doing his sexy pose in the coconut.
Well, please tell us what Donkey Kong is.
He is the strongest, the
Oh.
brawniest,
Ooh.
and most importantly, the hippest ape.
So I have a couple notes regarding Donkey Kong, and they're all the same, and they are all about his well-defined ass.
Well, that's not specific to Donkey Kong in this show, I've noticed.
It's not. Everybody's got a pretty juicy hinder.
Yeah, even all the crocodiles.
But the scene transition does focus pretty heavily on that well-defined ass.
Okay.
It's just very distracting. I made notes about it in the theme song. Pretty much the only visual that stuck out to me was Donkey Kong's ass.
I guess I'm more distracted by him standing upright like a human all the time. That bothers me. Far more than it should.
I didn't even really notice it, just because I know a lot of dang Donkey Kongs. It didn't stick out to me.
I'm so used to him having his tiny little stumpy legs and his huge arms that he rests on.
He still got them. He just doesn't use them.
Yeah, he just stands upright now like a man. Like a human man. Anyway, the lip sync really doesn't match the English.
It's so bad.
But it doesn't really match the French either, I checked. It's just random mouth movements.
I guess it was too hard to animate. Motion capture didn't cover for that.
In the second season, it matches the English.
Okay.
But for this first season, it's just some gibbledy-goobahs.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
King K. Rool shows up. They say his name correctly once, and then they call him K-Rool for the rest of the show.
And it's literally the first time he's introduced, and then never again.
Yeah. It's oh my god. It is a remake of Pac-Man. Because that's exactly what they did to Ms. Pac-Man.
Oh no.
She
We're just
showed
watching
up.
the same show over and over.
She showed up, and the ghost said, "It's Ms. Pac-Man!" And then they call her Pepper for the rest of the show. And then in this, King K. Rool shows up. Cranky says, "It's King K. Rool!" And then for the rest of the show, they call him K-Rool.
And it gets even more Pac-like, but we'll get there later.
K. Rool has been redesigned somewhat. By which I mean he no longer has the giant bloodshot eye.
The thing that really made him stand out.
Well, yeah. Does he still have it in Smash Brothers? I can't remember now, actually. I feel like he does.
I want to say he doesn't, just because I completely forgot that was a feature of his face.
Oh yeah, he still has it in Smash Brothers. He got the one giant bloodshot eye.
Okay. Well, good for him.
But in this, he does not have it.
There's too much extra trouble.
I'm going to assume, yeah, for symmetry reasons. I know I've done some 3D modeling. It's much easier when the character is completely symmetrical.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that that's why. K. Rool is played by Benedict Campbell, which I almost misread as Benedict Cumberbatch there.
Which I thought for sure you were going to say.
Oh my god, King K. Rool played by Benedict Cumberbatch? I would love that.
Doing his Smaug voice.
He didn't have a super interesting filmography, but I picked out a few interesting ones. He was Papa Bear in the Berenstain Bears.
Okay.
He was Martin the Warrior in Redwall.
I was obsessed with those books
Yes,
as a wee babby.
I put that on here specifically for you.
Good.
Mikhail Victor from Resident Evil 3. I don't know who that is.
No, I'm not super familiar with that series.
I do know what Resident Evil 3 is, though, so I put it on the list anyway.
Somebody out there knows him.
And he played Big Ears and Mr. Plod in the 1998 American version of Noddy.
Of what?
Noddy. It's a UK children's show that I guess had an American version in 1998.
Welcome to our place. We've been waiting. Time for some fun and celebrating.
Something is always ready to pop.
Here at the Naughty Shop.
I am not familiar with it.
No, I wouldn't super expect you to be honest. It's extremely British. I was surprised they even made an American version. It was written by Enid Blyton. I don't know if you even know who that is.
I don't.
No, she's a very big name in British children's books.
Okay.
She wrote a lot of books about a certain number of children doing things. The Famous Five, The Secret Seven. It was always things like that. There's always a certain number of children, and they were doing a. It was basically Scooby-Doo before Scooby-Doo, I guess.
Before Scooby-Doo?
Yeah. Well, these are like
Scooby-Doo's been Scooby-Dooing his thing for like 80 years.
Oh, I know, but she was writing these before television existed.
Wow.
Yeah, these are old books.
I feel like I've maybe heard of them, but who knows?
Oh yeah, look, she died probably around the same time Scooby-Doo started.
Wow. So she is quite old.
Yes, well, she's dead now.
I mean, I know that part.
I believe she was not great as a person.
Oh.
So let's not feel too
Well,
upset.
That time in our history, the people weren't.
So K. Rool shows up with Clump.
K. Rool, the professional bad guy,
Clump.
shows up. It's a convenient timing as part of the exposition.
Yeah, he does. He shows up like, did he know Cranky was introducing him? Cranky didn't.
I think it was just good timing, and he's been marching his way there since dawn.
And he's doing some weird military chant.
Oh, it was so dumb! It was so dumb! It was hip hop, what you got?
Yeah.
Hip hop, what you got? Hip hop, hip hop.
And then all of his soldiers fat shame him.
Got a lot!
Well, the first time they say a big fat gut.
Oh, I missed that part because I was so taken aback by it that I had to write down what was happening.
It was weird.
It was weird.
And then Clump is there.
I guess they had to come up with something to fill over the racism.
Oh god. Yeah. Clump. I was surprised that Clump looks almost exactly like he does in the game. They just made him more green.
Did they ever actually say his name in the show?
I don't know if they did. I just know it's
I
Clump.
cannot remember any of the character names. Like, I have somebody in here written down as Buff Beef Bod, because I was like, I've seen that guy before, I don't know his name.
That will be Crusher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buff Beef Bod.
You know, I couldn't tell you actually if they actually said the names of these characters. I think they did. They're definitely listed by these names in the cast. So they at least have the names. Even if they didn't mention them. But it could just be that I know the names, so I just like auto-filled it in my head.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he might have said clump, but I don't know about Crusher.
They fire a bunch of claptraps out of guns.
Yeah, like it shows the claptraps like they're the size that you jump on in the game, but then as the roof is getting eaten by the claptraps, they are not visible. They are microscopic.
Yes. Well, they're all inside the guns as well, so I think they have to be tiny.
But
'Cause-
their size never is
Well,
consistent.
that shot where we see the claptraps, and they talk, by the way.
Oh, wow! Nice fat target! How can we miss?
Yes, it's quite annoying.
That bothered me just because I don't know if we've ever seen them talk in any of the games. They just make those chomping noises.
Mm-hmm.
They just go. That's it. That's all they do. But anyway,
It's their whole shtick.
that shot where they're having a little conversation, the camera pulls into the barrel of the gun, so I assumed they were tiny at that point as well.
I didn't because it was a big gun, and I'm just like, oh, this is cartoon logic.
Was it
where
a big gun? I thought one of the Kremlings was holding it.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
My brain remembers it as a pretty big gun, so I'm thinking that it's just they've crammed a bunch of normal size
You
things
could be
into
right.
this large gun.
You could be right, but they were definitely microscopic when they were eating the. So.
Roof?
So no, I'm just like losing my mind. So, so in this show, claptraps are termites, basically.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be any threat to the Kongs themselves. They just eat their houses.
And their helicopter rudders.
I did notice that they called the random crocodile. The claptraps have more lines than the random crocodiles, first of all, by the way. That was weird. But they actually called the random crocodiles critters, which is their actual name in the game.
That's some deep lore.
It surprised me because I didn't know they were called critters until like 5 years ago. I just thought they were called Kremlings. But I don't think they actually used the word Kremling in the show at all.
I don't think they do.
No. Anyway, claptraps eat Cranky's house like it's Minecraft. That's what this note says. Because the holes that the claptraps are making in the roof are all pixelated.
Yeah, and they're just kind of branching out from some spot, even though earlier in the show it shows them like starting from the bottom of the roof and eating
Yeah.
a straight line up.
And I feel like it doesn't grow like organically. It like it's like it's progressing through sprites.
Yeah, it looked like a viral spread.
Yeah, that is exactly what it looked like. Anyway, enough about that. I'm aware suddenly that we've already been recording for an hour and we haven't even finished the first scene. Donkey Kong. Let's talk about Donkey Kong
Yeah,
himself.
Donkey Kong.
'Cause
So this part I loved because it was the dumbest thing ever. Where first of all we see that Donkey Kong has like a little bust of himself on his own mirror, but he's getting ready for the day and he says, "Why do I have to start the day with such a tough decision?" And he has to pick his tie, but it's 4 of the same tie.
Yep. Well, that's all he's got.
But it's a tough decision, it is not.
He's got a very small brain. Cranky did point that out.
Well, I mean, with his skull shaped like
We'll get to that. But one thing I left out of Cranky's list was that Donkey Kong is stupid.
Oh, yeah.
And Donkey Kong hears him say that through the coconut.
Which is apparently also a two-way communicator.
Or one way, we can't hear Donkey Kong. We can
We
only
just
see
know that
him.
he's upset. All it does is transmit insults to it.
So, DK is played by Richard Yearwood, who I've got a list of things here. They're not, they're not many. They're not things I expect anybody to have heard of, but they're fun things. His first acting credit was in The Littlest Hobo.
Was he the littlest hobo?
I don't think he was, but I just love that title. He's mostly done a lot of small roles and additional voices credits.
Okay.
But he's also directed and produced a few shows, including Restaurant Makeover, Marriage Under Construction,
Mm-hmm.
and a show called Fashion File Host Hunt, which is a show. It's Fashion File, and they're hunting for a host for the show. But I got so excited because I misread it. And I spent about 10 minutes trying to find footage of a show that I thought existed called Fashion File Ghost Hunt.
Well, now we have to make that show.
I want to make it. Ghost Hunt. We got to just get a bunch of fashion models to hunt ghosts. That's what I thought it was.
See, I was thinking what we do is we find ghosts and then we critique the clothes that they died in.
It's like a Queer Eye for ghosts.
Exactly. Like everybody's getting all excited about our real ghost footage, but we're like, well, no, we're not here for that. Do you see what she's wearing?
You guys are paying attention to the wrong thing here. Look at this dress.
Look at this bloody caftan.
Oh. I want to talk about Diddy's voice a little bit as well because
It's horrible.
it's horrible.
All of the voice actors are pretty good except Diddy's.
And what's wild is that in the French version, Diddy's played by a real kid,
Oh, cute.
which is so much more bearable. But Diddy is played by Andrew Sabiston, and when I looked him up, I realized that I've been annoyed by his voice before, and we will be annoyed by his voice in future.
Oh no!
Because he's the voice of Yoshi in the Super Mario World show.
Oh no! Talk about a dark legacy.
Tell Yoshi bedtime story now. Tell how Luigi finds Yoshi and Yoshi rescue Princess.
But he has over 1,100 credits, apparently. Mostly,
As every annoying voice you've
No.
ever heard.
most of his credits are as a writer. And
Okay.
he's actually won a couple Emmys for his writing.
Oh.
So I guess he's a pretty decent writer, but he didn't write for this. Which
No, he just-
actually might be a point in his favor.
I don't know. Maybe he could have dug this out of the trenches.
Maybe. What were you doing, Andrew?
How did you let this happen, huh?
But yes, Diddy's voice is awful, and he doesn't shut up.
No, it's pretty unbearable.
Immediately, when he's getting into the elevator, he's talking too much.
Okay, if you say so, DK, okay, but go easy, because sometimes, DK, no offense here, but you get a little out of control.
And
Yes.
I'm like, please stop. This sentence could have ended 3 words ago.
But it's because they have to give so much exposition about this stupid elevator that doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Like the only way into DK's house is via an elevator, and there's only a button inside the house. If you're outside trying to get in, you better hope somebody's home to let you in.
These are apes as well. Like,
Yes.
in the games, they just climb into the treehouse, I'm pretty sure.
And you see them swinging on vines to get to Cranky's, but apparently you have to take the stupid, ridiculous elevator to get into Donkey Kong's house.
I have a note here that says, I think DK's nonsensical elevator is a trap to kill Diddy.
I can't stand that voice. I gotta get rid of him.
I can't believe this didn't work the first time. Let's try it again.
Can't believe he's dumb enough to get in again.
And then he just becomes, Yeah, he gets in again, and of course the elevator doesn't work again, and Diddy gets smashed into the
Because
ground.
it's a really clunky setup to let us see that DK is strong.
Yeah.
He's so strong, he hits the button so good the elevator doesn't work.
Yes, he has to punch a button to make the elevator come up. It's like a test your strength game,
Yeah,
and the
but it's
elevator is the thing that goes up
super
and hits the
possible.
bell. Yeah, it is stupid. Anyway. Yeah, Cranky calls for help. They head over to Cranky's place, and they just start. I mean, they don't even really fight the crocodiles, I guess, the Kremlings.
They descend from the vines, and DK's screaming his battle cry of banana slamma. So you think he's gonna like slam down on one of the Kremlings, but he just jumps on a bunch of barrels, and then the barrels like fling up the planks in the bridge.
Yeah, and it just flips them all over the place. I will say that those, because the barrels, they're kind of like big buttons that he pushes down.
Yeah.
And that kind of did feel like a video game thing, but not a video game thing from this era.
No.
It felt like a video game thing from like 5 years later. This is like some Mario 64 style. Like, if this show was based on Donkey Kong 64, I'd be like, yeah, those are the things from the games, but there's nothing like this in Donkey Kong Country.
No, you just jump on things and throw barrels.
and that's what I wanted to see him do. I wanted to see him throw barrels at these crocodile men.
That's where he got his fame from, throwing barrels at Mario.
I don't think he throws a single barrel in this show. There's plenty of barrels in the show, but I don't think he throws one.
There is a barrel works that makes barrels, but not a single one is thrown.
We've got stuff to say about I've got stuff to say about the barrel works. So, how about you?
It's coming up. It's coming up.
Where are we?
King K. Rool's incredible military strategy of having everybody march in a straight line to Cranky's house. So at one point, there's just an entire part of the bridge that's up, and it's just a gaping hole, and everybody marches right into it.
They just walk in, and you see them one by one be like, "Huh?" as they fall. But none of them notice the guy in front fell. They don't know. They've all got their mind on other shit.
And that's how they defeat K. Rool.
Yeah, and then he's the only one do they actually defeat K. Rool, or do they just let him go after killing all of his men?
They just let him go. All of his men walk to their death, and King K. Rool's like, "Oh well, I guess I'll see you next week, Cranky."
King K. Rool's voice. This is the point where it hit me. It was reminding me of something.
Mm-hmm.
King K. Rool's voice sounds like James Stephanie Sterling's Commentocracy character.
Duke Amiel de Hardcore.
That's the one. I could not remember the name. Yes, that's who it was reminding me of.
Donkey Kong! Diddy, it was a good match. You won, I lost. Good sportsmanship and all that. I'm just an underprivileged reptile. Let's blame it on my genes.
It's not quite the same, but it's like the similar...
Mm-hmm.
There was a similar inflection there.
So
here's the thing, right? Once K. Rool runs away, Diddy starts giving all the credit to Donkey Kong, even though Diddy did just as much.
Yeah, which
And-
is to say they both just jumped on barrels.
If it was a kid, it would be cute, I think.
Uh-huh.
But with his adult voice, Diddy just comes across as this, like, weird yes man.
Yeah.
You did it, DK, you saved the coconut!
Diddy comes across as weird for sure in this show.
Yeah.
Talk about later.
I definitely get more the impression that he's a stunted adult monkey rather than a... I mean, he's not an ape like the others, but maybe he is an adult monkey. Maybe that's just as big as they get.
That's all it takes to beat K. Rool, and this is where it really it really got sent home to me because K. Rool goes back to his lair and he's just screaming, "I need that coconut!" And all I could think about is Mesmeron. And how he just has this unspecified goal where there's an object that he needs for no reason, and all he does is scream about it.
Yeah.
But then, but then he's talking about DK and he says he's invincible. It's the bananas that make him invincible, and it's the fucking power pellets.
Oh my god, I don't. How did I not see it?
I don't know.
It really is. It's just the same show.
It is and it isn't because it gets a little bonkers immediately after that.
It gets pretty. Yeah. Okay. So now this is the point where we're about to take a turn. The first of a couple turns that this show takes.
First of many winding bends.
K. Rool has a plan to curse Donkey Kong.
I love that he immediately goes into dark magic.
Which is so funny to me. I don't think he's ever done that in the games. I think
No?
in the games is the Kremlings versus the Kongs is very much a technology versus nature thing.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, of the things that King K. Rool does have just been some kind of technology. This
But
is
now
not.
it's
This is magic. Not only that, but it seems like when he's going through his spell books, they seem like spell books written for apes.
Yeah, because it's pictures of apes all
Yeah.
throughout it.
Yeah, and you'd think if it was written for anyone else, yeah, even the person casting the spell in the book is an ape. So
Yeah, all
where's he
of
got these
the
books from?
I think he must have stolen it from a poor ape shaman somewhere.
Yeah, I think you might be right. But the sexy gorillas made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was the faces.
It was everything.
Well, it was everything, but mostly it was the faces for me. It was weird to me that the gorillas in the book, the male gorillas are all just gorillas, and then the
Mhm.
female gorillas are just women with a gorilla face.
Yeah.
Just human women with a gorilla face.
But that's kind of how it is in the show, just everywhere. If you think about it, Candy Kong has like a typical bombshell body and just a gorilla face.
Yeah. Well, that's an issue that the game has too.
True.
I've got a lot to say about Candy when she shows up.
But we're not there yet.
We're not there
We
yet.
still haven't revealed what the curse is.
The curse is that I don't even know if I understood the curse. You have to say a spell while you cut someone's hair? Is that all it is?
Yes, you cast the curse while cutting somebody's hair.
I wrote down what the spell is.
Oh, good, because I did not.
The spell is snip, clip, power slip, you're a wimp, and that's it. Now, when K. Rool first read it out, I didn't think "and that's it" was part of the spell. I thought that was him saying "and that's the end of the spell." But no,
Right.
that's part of the spell. You have to say that part too.
And if you don't, everything goes to shit.
Yeah, sure does. As it already has when we pressed play on this show. Also, I love that, and this is the one saving grace that distracted me from the sexy gorilla women.
Mhm.
The entire spell book, all of the text in the spell book, did you notice it?
What?
It's just someone has just taken a keyboard and just mashed it. The entire spell book is just full of keyboard mashing, the way you used to write a file name in high school.
Good. I love that.
It's so
We
good.
need more of that.
The one line in the entire show that got a genuine laugh out of me was Clump ending the scene.
Yes. Because he's dubious about this curse
Yes, he
plan.
thinks the curse plan is stupid, and he's right.
So K. Rool says,
You wouldn't know a good plan if it hit you in the head.
I would too, if it hit me in the head.
And it's more about Clump's delivery of the line
"Yeah."
than the line itself. And it's so well delivered.
Yeah, I liked that part. That was a genuine laugh for me.
Yep, same. All right, we go to the next scene where Diddy is coming on to DK.
Yes, he is. It's weird. So
He-
DK
He
gazing
catcalls him. Sorry, you go ahead.
DK is gazing at a picture of Candy Kong and just fawning over how infatuated he is with her.
Yep.
And Diddy,
Well, DK's dressed himself up.
right, because it's Candy's
Apparently.
birthday today.
I mean, they tell us he's dressed himself up. He looks exactly the same as he did in the previous scene.
He wants to look nice for her.
And he already looked nice, I guess.
I guess, because nothing happened.
But Diddy's just sitting there in a tire swing behind him, and he gives him a wolf whistle, and then he says,
Looking fine, DK.
and and then when DK tells him that he got dressed up for Candy, Diddy gets mad about it.
Yes, he does. Not only does he get mad, he's like,
Candy, Candy, Candy. She's just a girl, DK. You can't have fun with a girl like we do.
And this is the point where I realized that Diddy Kong is just LeFou from Beauty and the Beast. So DK's Gaston.
No one's slick as DK. No one's quick as DK. No one's next as incredibly thick as DK.
That's exactly who he is.
I'm okay with that. That almost makes me like him more, but I still don't like him.
DK refers to Candy as the gorilla my dreams.
I did not have a lot of notes from this specific scene because the
neither.
scene immediately after
It's-
stole
The
everything.
scene immediately after, yes, at the Bluster Barrel Works.
Before we even get to the barrel works, we have the exposition.
Yes,
And
it's funny because Cranky hasn't actually been exposition for a while at this point, but now he comes back to fill the role again.
in the most incredible way possible because it just violently transitions to Cranky being on a conveyor belt inside a barrel.
Well, to begin with, he's just on a conveyor belt that's on the roof for some reason.
Right.
Because they want us to see him already in the establishing shot of the place. And then he tumbles down, and yeah, he's just being made into a barrel. Why is Cranky being made into a barrel?
And nobody seems to notice or do anything about it.
Including Cranky, who spends the entire time just explaining to us what the barrel works is and who Bluster is.
Yeah, which who is Bluster? Because
Bluster,
they
by the
refer to
way,
him as competition, but Candy is clearly not interested.
yes, I've written that here. Why is Bluster considered credible rival for Candy's affections? She hates him and he's an asshole.
Like he brings her a birthday cake, this giant birthday cake, which she shuts down completely. She says she's watching her figure, and she just sends it down the conveyor belt to be crushed.
Yep. Okay, I've got a lot to say about this scene, apparently. I have a large number of notes for this section.
Go for it.
So, Bluster. He's, I think, the only unique character made for the show.
Hmm.
I think everybody else that we see, at least in this episode, everybody else that we see is from the game, except for Bluster. And I hate him!
He's awful. His design, his everything.
He's so ugly. And
Disgusting.
I kind of understand the reasoning that they will have had in creating this character.
Enlighten me.
I think they were looking at it from okay, this tropical island has barrels everywhere. Where do the barrels come from?
Mm-hmm.
So they, created this character who owns the barrel factory and is making the barrels. Was it necessary? No.
Not at all.
Do we care where the barrels came from?
Not at all.
Not to my knowledge. The games never needed to explain it.
No, it's just a thing that exists and they've used it in the universe. We don't need to know where it came from.
And I think the other reason that they felt they needed Bluster is to have somebody be a rival for Candy's affections. But why not use Funky if that's what you need?
Funky is the main monkey.
He
Now
is the
that
main
is a real
monkey.
rival.
Yeah. Bluster is played by Donald Burder, who apparently appeared in Max Headroom. He had a recurring role in All My Children.
Okay.
Which is a soap opera for anyone who doesn't know. He's in Bakugan. I've never seen Bakugan, but I've seen a lot of commercials for it.
Neither have I.
And recently, he had a small role in Amazon Prime's American Gods.
I thought you were going to say American Girl.
No, he was in Neil Gaiman's American Gods, and he was playing a factory supervisor.
So he's just gone full circle.
Yep, he's typecast. I wonder if he got that job off the back of being Bluster Kong. They're like, yeah, we need somebody for the factory supervisor role. Oh, I've done that before. And doesn't tell them that it was a monkey.
See, I had the idea that somebody in production was like, I remember seeing something when I was younger and it really stuck with me. Let's get that guy.
Or maybe it really was just a DK fan. Candy. First of all, let's talk about Candy in
Let's do
general.
it.
How do you feel about Candy Kong on the whole?
I do not care for her.
I do not care for her either. No, I never have.
I think it's weird.
She's weird, right? She stands out so much against all the other Kongs because in the original Donkey Kong Country, there are... Who have you got? You've got DK, you've got Cranky, you've got Diddy, you've got Funky, and you've got Candy.
Mm-hmm.
All of those others look like apes, except Candy, who is a human woman in a one-piece bathing suit with an ape's head. And I don't care for it. She's also like 3 times as tall as all the others in that.
Yeah, she looks like she comes from a different universe.
Yeah, she sure does. And they basically she disappeared. She wasn't in Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3. But then she came back for Donkey Kong 64 and they redesigned her in Donkey Kong 64 to a point where I'm not going to say I liked her, but I accepted her.
I don't remember what she looked like, but I do remember that she was even more overtly sexual in her speech.
She was more overtly sexual, but she had kind of a cute outfit. I could put it out of my mind that it was this horrible amalgamation of human and ape. I think the fact that it was low poly N64 models probably helped as well.
Yeah.
But then she returned in some of the more recent post-Rare Nintendo Donkey Kong games. And once again, she horrifies me. And I would prefer that she wasn't in them. I don't know if she's in Donkey Kong Country Returns or Tropical Freeze. I can't remember. But I know she was in Barrel Blast or Jet Race or whatever they call it. And
she
wasn't a fan.
was the product of a strange era where everything had to be a busty, sexy lady, even if it was an ape.
Yes. They redesigned her somewhat for this show to... My guess is that what they were attempting with this redesign was to make her more feminist, but in my opinion, it ended up being even more sexist somehow.
I would say that it was even more sexist because of her preoccupation with keeping her figure.
there was so much.
Like the fact that they addressed it, that she has this unrealistically gorgeous curvy body.
Yeah, I wish there were more female apes in this show and they just looked like the other apes.
So it's very apparent that she has a terrible, unfortunate eating disorder.
Just something's wrong with her. She's had a lot of surgery.
She's had a couple ribs removed.
Yes, I don't care for her, Mel. I
No.
don't care for this character. Apparently, it's not the woman who wrote this show, but I found an interview with a woman who wrote for this show, who also said that she really hated Candy. So then, and she's here sharing the scene with Bluster. I can't decide which one of them's worse.
Bluster.
Bluster is a sex pest.
Happy birthday. Banana cream, your favorite.
Rejected. Watching my figure.
Don't bother. I'm watching it for ya.
Bluster is a sex pest. He has a horrible face that I don't like to look at.
But that's his. I mean, that's his entire role in the show. Seemingly,
To be a sex pest.
To be a sex pest. He's her boss, and he's constantly propositioning her. Because he doesn't. You mentioned how he brings her a cake.
Uh-huh.
That's not all he does. He expects her to come back with him to his place.
So, we gonna go back to my place on the Copa Banana, or what?
And then she's like, "No, I'm doing something with Donkey Kong," who then shows up on the conveyor belt for no reason.
With a big bouquet of bananas.
Yeah, and he doesn't even do anything. DK shows up on the conveyor belt. I guess the same way Cranky did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bluster is angry that she's going on a date with DK. So off screen, he picks up the cake that he brought her. And
Yeah, we don't see that this is happening.
No, we hear it. And it's because of those limitations of the motion capture that I mentioned before. He puts the cake on her head. Like, her head is inside the cake. And she's blinded and she's just feeling around and her voice is muffled. And she blames Donkey Kong for this.
Yes, I was so confused by this scene because, like, I looked up from writing my notes and suddenly she's got a cake on her head and she's blaming Donkey Kong. I'm like, what just happened?
You can't be serious.
I try to do nice things, but
I brought you these. Ooh, I was gonna get you a cake, but I see you already got one.
Donkey Kong? Every single time you show up, things just fall apart. Both of you are just a couple of pains in the butt.
Yikes! Ouch!
You're out of here.
I guess this means our date's off, huh?
Bluster, and we know Donkey Kong didn't do it because first of all, that wouldn't make any sense, and second of all, he's the only character on screen when it happens.
And he's not doing anything.
So, Candy's boss assaults her. And then she blames Donkey Kong because it's his fault because he showed up.
Yeah, she says every single time you show up, things go wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, if you feel so strongly about him, why are you going on a date with him?
Well, not only that, if it's not his... It's
not his fault to begin with.
It's her boss. Quit your job, Candy. Why are you working in this barrel factory? It doesn't seem like there's any money on the island anyway.
Maybe it's got health benefits.
People get bananas for free in a giant grove of bananas.
Well, we don't know that. We know that Donkey Kong gets bananas for free, but then he eats the entire forest.
That's true, actually. You're right. It's only confirmed that DK gets free bananas, I guess.
Because he's the savior of the world. They're all his special bananas.
I forgot to mention that at the end of the other scene, I think, K. Rool mentioned that they need somebody that DK trusts to cut DK's hair for the spell to work. I don't think they gave us any implication of what that meant.
they kind of hinted that there was only one person he would trust, and I was like, Diddy Kong.
Yeah. Oh, I was not ready for the horrifying robot candy that the Kremlings have constructed.
Especially because when you first see her, she doesn't have a head.
Yes, she's
It's
head.
just
The head
next to
is
her body.
the head is on a little stand next to the body, which is was the body T-posing? I forget. I feel like it was, but maybe that's just because I feel like that's what a robot body does.
It was either T-posing or they were just her arms were at her side. I can't remember which.
One of those. But when they activate the head before they put it on the body, first of all, which is already scary enough, in my opinion. But when the robot opens its eyes, there's like a horror pipe organ sting.
A horror sting?
What's your name?
My name is Candy. Happy to meet you.
I mean, they weren't trying to conceal the fact that this thing is creepy.
No, but the funny thing about it is, it isn't really any more creepy than the real Candy.
No!
'Cause it looks
In
exactly
fact,
like
it's less
her.
creepy because she's supposed to be creepy.
They turn it on and it starts singing a song for
Yes,
some
it
reason.
does.
I don't know why.
Operation Attach Head completed, sir.
I'm Candy Kongs, only look like we're one and the same. I know what you're thinking, but honey, I'm no ordinary day.
I think it's just because this is a musical show for some reason.
Yes, I did read that every episode apparently has 2 musical numbers.
Yes.
And this,
So
I
we
guess,
had
is our
Cranky. Yeah.
I didn't register the Cranky one as a musical number the first time I watched it. I was like, really? I only remember one. The funniest thing to me is that she's there doing her song and dance about how she's the cranky robot. And all the Kremlings, it gives us this long extended shot of them watching.
Yes. Yes.
And they're all just like
unflinching.
smiling politely. Like they're all waiting for it to end.
They were not expecting this, and now they just kind of have to tolerate it.
Yeah. And they're not showing any signs of being annoyed about it, but they're not showing any signs that they're enjoying it either. They're just politely smiling.
They couldn't show too much dancing, so they go to a scene of absolutely nothing happening.
It was so funny.
It was good. It was a little overwhelming.
DK's at home with Diddy, who I guess is overjoyed.
That DK is suffering.
Yeah. And Diddy points out that Candy does this all the time, apparently.
Yeah, like she not dumps him, but rejects him over and over and over again, but then still takes him back.
So I think that she just is kind of abusive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what it's sounding like.
Because he sure didn't do anything, as I said.
Yeah, and DK says she's never gonna take me back because somebody else put a cake on her head.
She's never going to take me back. I really screwed up this time by showing up on time to our date. With bananas.
To be fair, though, so Robo Candy shows up and she's asking DK to let her in, and then she's like, I'm still here, you gonna let me in? And this is 5 seconds later, and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot!
He's so excited that she's there. He immediately runs to tell Diddy that she's there, even though Diddy is in the same room and clearly heard her.
Oh, you, Donkey Kong.
Candy! Hey, Banana Yama! Oh, she's here! Yama Banana's up! Wow!
You asking me in or what?
I forgot you were here!
And in the meantime, forgets that she's there.
Yeah, that was... I don't know if I want to say it was kind of cute, But, I could see what they were going for, and it was a character moment. I appreciated it.
I disagree with that, but okay.
Okay. Well, it just felt like they were, like, trying to show that he's an idiot.
There are better ways to do that than I'm super excited for this thing. 5 seconds have passed. Who are you?
I'm just trying to take what I can get. Well, I guess the way I interpreted it was like he was so excited by it and so wanted to tell his best friend about it that he forgot in the moment that it was a thing that was happening. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to rationalize this.
I think you're just trying to rationalize it. I think it's just kind of, I don't want to say lazy writing, but maybe they had to fit something in the time frame.
Candy is played by Joy Tanner. She had some roles in Goosebumps and stuff.
Cool.
She was one of the parents in Degrassi from 2009 to 2013.
It's a long run.
And apparently she has a recurring role in Netflix's Lock and Key show right now.
I don't know what that is.
I've heard of it in passing. For anybody who watches it, she plays Erin Voss. Maybe that means something to you.
Not to me.
Anyway, back to the moment. We're almost there.
We're getting through this horrible mess.
We're almost at the moment.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
So Candy comes up, and well, it's Robot Candy. To us, it's clearly Robot Candy. Something's off about this Candy.
She's already reciting the curse. That's what's off about this Candy.
She really wants to cut his hair, and he's so into it for some reason.
Snip, clip, power slip. You're a wimp, and that's it.
What?
Snip, snip, gonna clip. Make you my sweet and sexy chimp. Come here, you hunk of love.
Okay then, chop chop.
He literally just is like, okay, and he bends over.
Yeah, and he like jumps up.
So that this woman who has just showed up at his house with scissors to cut his hair out of nowhere can cut his hair and turn around and leave.
After cancelling his date, like not half an hour ago, probably.
Right.
She just announces that she wants to cut his hair, and he's just like, yeah, all right. I don't know why he was so into it, but
I think it's because he's in an abusive relationship and he's taking the love that he can before she screams at him again.
Robot Candy cuts Donkey Kong's hair.
And then the secret is revealed.
The reveal. So, to anybody familiar with Donkey Kong, I feel like it's probably pretty much everybody. Think back on Donkey Kong's hair. You may be familiar with Donkey Kong. He has like two little kind of curls of hair on top of his head.
That delightful DK swirl we all know and love.
Yeah. Two little kind of head spikes of hair. When that hair is cut, I don't know about you, Mel, but I would expect his head to just kind of be round like a coconut.
Right, round like a skull.
Yeah.
It is not.
So, what we got is actually that his head retains the shape of that hair.
He just kind of has a spiked monkey skull.
He's got like horns.
And not in the way that one would think of horns.
No, flesh horns. I think that is just his skull. I don't think they're horns. I think he just has a funny skull. Yeah. Because horns would be a different color. It's
Because
just
like I
flesh.
feel like people have made that joke before that the swirl is actually just the shape of his skull. I would never expect to see it as anything other
Made
than a
flesh.
joke. Literally.
Oh, there are some things you just don't expect to see in your life. So I know what happened. They had a script calling for his hair to be cut, and they didn't have the budget to make a second model where he doesn't have hair. So they just retextured the top of his head to be
Oh.
flesh colored. But man, no, it doesn't work like that. You can't get
No.
away with that.
I'll see it in my nightmares forever.
And the first thing Diddy says when he sees it is
Geek alert.
Is that a geeky haircut? Because that just looks like a bad prank.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if I can even call that a haircut. I don't know what to call it. It's not a haircut.
It's the fryer.
Well, I can't. So I am unable to divorce the cutting of his hair from the revealing of his weird flesh mound spikes. So I think it's best that we simply do not talk about them again until we need to. But just until we bring it up again, just assume that's how Donkey Kong looks.
You will never be able to unsee it.
If I mention it every scene, I will never mention anything else, because in every scene that Donkey Kong appears in for the rest of the episode, that is the chief thing of the scene.
So DK is bald and horrible now.
Yes.
And we go back to Cranky's place where K. Rool has another plan.
First of all,
okay.
Candy just leaves.
Yeah, she cuts his hair and she's like, bye.
And nobody thinks it's weird.
Nobody thought it was weird that she showed up to cut his hair in the first place. Why would it be weird that she left?
I guess the fact that she just immediately leaves makes it even weirder to me.
Oh, for sure. But
I'd be like, is that what she was here for? And immediately, yes. We know immediately that he's lost his strength because he can't even operate the lift to let her out anymore.
Yeah, that fun little plot device.
Yeah. So then we return to Cranky.
Yeah, and
where
this
we have a nice establishing
plan.
shot of King K. Rool's butt crack. Also, this is where I took in that the show takes place in a place called Congo Bongo.
Oh, that's the name of the place?
Yeah, I guess
I thought it was like a person.
Oh, really? No, I think it's the name of the place.
I don't know what I thought it was.
It sounded like it was the place, which was weird to me because in the games it's Congo Jungle, which is on DK Island.
Mm-hmm.
But in the show, I think it's just Congo Bongo. But you can't call a place Congo Bongo.
No, that's why I thought it was a person.
It does sound like a person. That's more reasonable. Anyway.
Because this show is reasonable.
This is where Crusher finally shows up.
Yeah, and the whole plan is just to send him walking straight to Cranky's house.
And it works. That's the weirdest part.
It works because DK is no longer strong enough to stomp the barrels.
Crusher is probably the most game-accurate character in the whole show.
I wish that they had given him some rock-hard reptile nipples.
But Crusher is played by Len Carlson, who played Green Goblin in the 1960 Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you had the raccoons over there. I guess it was a Canadian show, but it was a big deal over here. You know, you watch a lot of James Steffley Sterling videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever they talk about greed or greedy CEOs, they
Oh,
have
and that pink thing?
the image of the pink guy. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the villain from the Raccoons.
Okay.
And Len Carlson over here played Bert, the main character from the Raccoons. It was a good show. I liked it.
Okay.
He also played two of the pigs from the Raccoons, which won't mean anything to you, but to anyone who watched the Raccoons, you'll know about the pigs. They were some of the best characters. It was also in Jason the Wheeled Warriors, which I know I watched when I was very small, but I don't remember at all. And we'll also be seeing him again sometime in the
boy.
future because he's the voice of Ganon in the Legend of Zelda cartoon.
Oh boy.
So this is the scene in the show where Donkey Kong's angry teeth make their first appearance.
And who was the voice actor for his teeth?
Oh, there's something. So whenever Donkey Kong's angry, teeth just appear in his head. I don't think he has teeth at all for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I don't think it ever shows teeth in any context because that's not the way their mouths work.
Yeah, but the teeth are there when he's angry, just in his mouth.
That's how you know he's angry. His teeth come out.
They're just spiky teeth. And this is another thing as well that got a laugh from me. I don't know if it was an intentional laugh or not, but the Kremlings come into Cranky's house and they just take the coconut and walk back out with it as Cranky ineffectually chases after them, shouting things.
You can't stop me now, Cranky. I win, you lose.
Stop right there! I'm warning you. You scum-sucking, rancid reptiles. This is bad.
Well, first of all, the fact that the coconut got revealed, its location was revealed because DK was thrown into the house and conveniently knocked the globe that it was in. And it just stood there exposed for the Kremlings to come in and march out with.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
I don't think I even took in that it was supposed to be hidden.
It was within the globe. Normally, I think both the globe and the coconut itself are out of view.
You're right, they're like inside the floor, aren't they?
Yeah. The DK went to fight Krusha, but he has no muscles no more because of his horrible, horrible skull. And he throws him into the house where he just kind of reveals the coconut on accident.
Yeah, I guess that is exactly what happened.
And that was the whole successful plan.
So anyway, here's the next note I have, because I apparently didn't think anything of that entire scene. When Donkey Kong is explaining to Cranky what happened, and why he doesn't have any strength anymore, Cranky just casually accepts that Candy cursed him.
Ever since Candy cut my hair and told me she wanted to make me her little love slave.
Your hair?
Yeah, don't laugh. She gave me the once-over makeover.
Do I look like I'm laughing? You're under her curse.
Yeah, that's his first thought. He's like, yeah, sounds like a curse.
Yeah, it sounds like Candy did it. Yep, okay. So
Let me go get... He has like an anti-voodoo book. I think I wrote what it was called somewhere, but I can't find it right now.
But I just love this world that they live in where everybody just knows that Candy is DK's abusive girlfriend, and they're all just like, oh yeah, it sounds like Candy cursed you.
And poor guy, he's never gonna leave her.
This is where Funky shows up.
Yeah, because K. Rool has been gone for 2 seconds, but apparently there's chaos all over the island.
Yes, I've got that. This is my note. Already chaos over the island after K. Rool has coconut for 25 seconds.
Hey, dudes, it's chaos all over the island.
Yeah, Funky shows up, and he looks weird.
He does.
I don't
There's
like the
something
choice.
wrong with him.
Yeah, they've almost like inverted his colors. It feels like an accident.
Yeah.
Because usually, the Funky that we know, the Funky that we're actually friends with on Facebook, he basically just looks like Donkey Kong, but with clothes on, right?
And cool sunglasses.
Yeah. Just cool sunglasses, a bandana, a crop top, and some shorts. That's the Funky I care about.
Cool.
Yeah. He's 90s cool Donkey Kong. And I love him.
Yeah.
This Funky, I don't know why, but they've darkened his skin parts considerably and lightened his fur considerably.
It's weird.
It's like he got an intense tan and then bleached his fur. And the effect, I'm sure if this is the first Funky you saw, you probably wouldn't think much of it, but because I know regular Funky, seeing this Funky just does something to my head.
It doesn't make me feel good about
feels
life.
Strange. Funky is played by Damon D'Oliveira. D'Oliveira.
You did it!
I tried. So I know him from Short Circuit 2, where he plays a car stereo thief.
Los locos kick your ass! Los locos kick your face! Los locos kick your balls into outer space!
I was staring at this photo of him when I was doing my research. I was staring at this photo of him I pulled up, and I was like, why do I know this man? He seems to be in nothing. And then I found him. Short Circuit 2, car stereo thief.
A face you're well acquainted with.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've watched that movie 500 million times.
I know that about you.
And I think probably he's in Short Circuit because the movie was filmed in Toronto.
They're just getting all the local talent.
Yeah, basically. He hasn't done super much. That's pretty much all I had to say about him.
Cool.
I do not like that Funky keeps calling bananas mellow yellows.
Feast your eyes on those gazillions of mellow yellows.
Yeah, that's a choice. I'm pretty sure Mellow Yellow was like a Sprite variant. Or not variant, but like competitor. It's like a citrus flavored soft drink akin to Sprite.
Okay, we may have had it in the 90s, but we sure don't have it no more that I know of.
DK needs to go get some power pellets from the power forest.
Yeah, he does. Meanwhile, Cranky's gonna make a potion.
I found it. He has the Voodoo Undo.
Voodoo Undo.
So he has to make a potion with his Voodoo Undo powers. But the thing about this potion and this anti-curse, Cranky says only the person who casts the spell can undo it.
Yeah.
But that's not what ends up happening.
Well, okay, so what happens is... Alright, first of all, yeah, I have the note here. I had forgotten it since I watched it, apparently, but I do have a note here about bananas giving DK superpowers. Although they don't. At least not in this episode. He eats all the bananas and nothing happens. It seems like they don't do anything.
His hair grows back.
Not because of the bananas, though.
Uh-huh.
No, because of the potion.
Well, the potion grew a magic banana.
Yeah, but it's a potion banana. Does that count?
True.
It's not the bananas. The bananas didn't do shit. I think maybe DK just says that the bananas give him superpowers. So
he can eat more bananas?
Yeah, so people will give him more bananas.
But also the thing about the potion is that...
Well, hang on. Before we get to the potion.
Okay.
Cranky calls Candy to his hut to give her the potion. And she shows up late, apparently. Cranky's like, what took you so long? And she says...
Bluster didn't want to come. I had to force him.
Why?
Why? I guess because... Was it like his helicopter or something that they used to get around in?
Oh, maybe they took the helicopter to Cranky's. I didn't think of that.
That's the only thing that I can think of.
Okay, but that's not established very well if that's the case.
No, and it's not even established that there is a helicopter until a scene after that.
Yeah, I was just like, why did she need to bring Bluster? He doesn't need to be
Right.
here. The only reason for Bluster to be there in this scene is because he gives her an alibi. Because Cranky Cranky has just accepted that Candy cursed Donkey Kong, and he's okay with it.
He's like, whatever, just as long as you undo it.
Yeah, he doesn't mind.
Only the person that cast the spell on him can undo the curse.
But I didn't curse him.
Well, somebody who looked, talked, and walked like you did.
She's been at the barrel works all day.
Maybe it was an imposter, a double, a candy wannabe. Never mind, it'll still work.
Why?
I guess the only other option is that there was a robot duplicate, but this should still work.
So here are my two thoughts on that. Either he doesn't believe Candy, and he's just like, all right, sure, yeah, robot, yeah, whatever, it was a duplicate. This should still work, though, because he thinks it was Candy.
Yeah.
Or it really doesn't matter who does it. He just didn't want to do it himself.
In the end, it doesn't matter who does it.
Yeah, it doesn't. So do we think that Cranky just said that Candy needed to do it because he didn't want to do it?
I think so, yeah.
That's very on brand for Cranky, actually.
There's a scene after this with K. Rool where nothing really happens, but
the
I
one
just
where he's
wanna
giving his
bring up-
speech.
Yeah. He's boasting to his men about being the new ruler, and from the back of the room, there's just one guy that's like, "Oh, hail King K. Rool!" And I just thought it was the stupidest thing.
Also, the thing as well that really got me about that is that when you see the shot of all of his men down below, they're all like completely stuck still statues.
Yeah.
Which to me, it just gave me this impression that they were all cardboard cutouts and it was just like Clump at the back pretending to be one of them.
Probably, and he's the one that said it.
That really made me laugh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
still really, like, even though he has the crystal coconut now, he's not doing anything with it. It doesn't seem like there's anything he can do with it. We don't know what
Everything has been
benefit.
done off screen. Like,
Well,
later, what's his face? I don't know. Because when Funky shows up, he says that there's chaos on the island, but we don't know what that chaos is.
Oh, that's
But
true.
he knows
Well-
that it has to do with the coastal coconut.
When he said there was chaos on the island, I just assumed everybody was just freaking out.
Oh,
I
thought
guess-
that there were like fires.
I guess, yeah, maybe the implication was supposed to be that King K. Rool was causing chaos on the island, but I just really thought, I just thought that King K. Rool wandered out like holding the coconut. Everybody saw it and started panicking. All of the 5 people that live on this island.
I don't know. It's never made very clear.
Oh, also, Clump just has a spy, I guess.
Oh my god, yeah.
Did you ever know about this too?
I do, because everything in this show is done off screen.
Yeah. So Clump is just like, oh, something's happening. The Kongs are on their way. I've heard that this is happening. And I'm like, where did you hear this from?
He says,
My sources tell me that Cranky's cooked up an antidote to the voodoo curse.
I'm like,
That's right.
that's so specific.
Yep. And who was there to tell him? It has to be Bluster.
Bluster's playing both sides.
It's the only thing that makes sense. And then he and Candy crash the helicopter in a jungle.
Well, their propeller was getting eaten by claptraps, apparently.
Oh yeah, that we didn't see.
Yeah, you never see if they're fired or anything. You just see that the propeller starts to slowly dissolve, and I think they both yell
Claptraps!
and that's the only reason you know.
Yes. And then they crash land, and some weird stuff happens. They have some kind of argument. Did Bluster want to drink the potion? I forget.
I'm thirsty.
Give me that bottle.
He claimed that he wanted to drink the potion. They've been stranded for about 2 seconds.
Well,
And
I don't
Bluster,
know if they're even stranded. They're just in the woods.
they're just in the woods, yeah. But I wrote stranded in quotes because I couldn't think of a better word
Okay.
for what would spark this reaction
Yeah.
in Bluster.
But is it?
He
I forget. Is it that
drank
he
the
was
potion.
thirsty?
That's what he said, but then he immediately dumps it into the ground.
And Candy just lets it happen.
There was a reason for it, but I don't. It looks like I did not write it in the end because my gast was so flabbered that I was lost for words.
He says it. He says I remember him saying he was thirsty, and then she just lets him take the potion from her, and then he just empties it onto the ground.
We're not going to save Donkey Kong. No one is.
Bluster, what are you doing?
I'm top banana now.
I think it's because he wanted DK to stay weak so he wouldn't have any competition.
Yes, that sounds right. But why did she just let him do it?
I because she can't grab things unless it's off scene.
I hate you.
So Bluster dumps this voodoo undo into the ground and
Yes.
a giant banana tree starts growing.
And this is an inconsistency because in this scene, a giant banana tree starts growing.
Yes.
But then in the next scene, there are banana trees all over the jungle now.
I also want to note that there was a scene previous with Funky, Diddy, and Donkey Kong where they say that Donkey Kong has eaten every banana, but there are clearly bananas in the trees behind them.
Oh, yeah.
So those bananas have apparently regrown because this magic banana tree miles away has grown.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand how this one banana tree growing equated to banana trees growing all over the forest suddenly. But it's magic, so I guess it doesn't matter.
I guess. And it makes DK's hair magically grow back.
Yes, finally, so I can stop thinking about it.
You'll think about it every day until you die.
Probably will. When DK shows up at Karul's house, Crush is about to put the coconut away in a vault. So I'm like, what were you doing with the coconut? We've seen
It's supposed to be this all-powerful device, and they're like, better keep it safe in the vault for now.
We haven't seen them do anything with it, and they're already putting it away in a vault.
Yeah. They've done all they needed to. I guess it's just whoever owns the coconut owns the world.
That's gotta be it. But then DK shows up and he kicks the coconut all the way home.
Yeah, it perfectly ricochets and lands right back where it came from in Cranky's house,
Now-
like 85 miles away.
Yeah, it flies out of the roof of K-Rool's place and then bounces off loads of different tree branches, flies in through a hole in Cranky's ceiling, bounces around the room and lands back in its stand. And I actually really liked that. That felt like a Donkey Kong moment.
It's so stupid that I accepted it.
Yeah, it gave me the same kind of vibes as the ending to Donkey Kong Country Returns, where I don't remember exactly how it goes down, but when you beat the final boss, for some reason or another, DK is thrown into space by the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And then DK flies up to the moon, and he then punches the moon down onto the villain's head.
Yeah, okay, I'll accept it.
And it's incredible. It's probably my favorite Donkey Kong moment. And that's what I want more of. I want that kind of like over the top silliness. And I got a brief moment of it here when the crystal coconut flew home from a single kick.
And that's still just a fraction of the silliness of punching the moon.
Yeah, but it's a fraction of it. I'll take that.
Take any scrap I can get.
And then I love so Crusher's unconscious on the floor. I don't think we actually saw DK attack Crusher.
No, he just kicked the coconut out of his hands.
Yeah, but in the next moment, Crusher's unconscious with stars flying around his head. And then DK's just like, well, I'm going to a birthday party.
My work here is done.
And then he doesn't go to a birthday party, but still.
No, the next scene is very strange.
Is the next scene, do we go straight to the two candies scene?
I think we do, because I
Okay.
don't have any other notes between that.
Me neither. So DK's back in the... I don't know where he is. I don't know the locations of this show.
No, this location has not been established yet. He's just kind of somewhere.
And then two candies show up with presents.
First, it was just the one, and I'm like, why isn't it her birthday?
It's her birthday, but this might be a casualty of them trying to write a story around the existing storyboards. I don't know.
True.
Maybe it was his birthday in the original plot. I don't know. So yeah. I think it's the real candy that shows up first.
Yeah.
And she has a gift for him. And then the
For
robot
being
candy.
such a good hero or something.
That's right. Then the robot candy shows up and is very clearly the robot candy.
Because she's creepy.
And she sounds completely different.
Uh-huh.
Donkey Kong, I have something for you. It's just a little present for being such a hero.
But what's funny is the real candy is the one that I found scarier in this scene. Because there's a part where she says,
she's obviously the imposter that started all the trouble in the first place.
And her expression flips randomly between a sweet smile and a scary scowl as she's saying it. Well, I say sweet smile, it's still scary.
It's still Candy Kong.
Every expression on Candy's face is kind of scary.
Yeah. She just has that resting bitch face.
I don't even know what it is. Her mouth part is so huge. And the smile fills all of it.
Yeah.
So DK picks the wrong candy. But honestly, he picks the nicer of the two candies.
He does, but
he picks the one who's being nicer to him in that moment. So
he picks the candy that he wants.
not the candy that he deserves.
Not
no,
the candy
maybe she is the candy he deserves.
Yeah, well, she does blow up.
She does blow up. I really did not need the scene where their puckered lips come at the camera.
No, no, I didn't care for that.
No, I would like to never have that in my face ever again. But I'm sure when we return to this show, I'm sure we'll see it again. And then the robot candy has a little Five Nights at Freddy's moment and explodes. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I can't even remember if he said anything like "it's a living" after that.
He does. It's not that, but he says that kind. That's the feel of what he says. I don't remember what he says, but that it might as well have been "it's a living."
Yeah, I was physically and mentally exhausted by that point.
Me too. For some reason, there was a part of me that just thought, and now it's time for the second segment, and then I had a panic attack. But no, that was, believe it or not, everything we just said was a full 20 minutes of episode. It doesn't sound like it.
I made sure to ask you if this was a two-parter because I would have had to done something to prepare for that. It was a lot to handle.
No, it was done. That's the end of it. So how do you feel? Let's in summation.
Honestly, I kind of want to watch more because that was so insane.
We're going to watch more, don't worry.
I just mean like recreationally.
Oh, right. I mean, I have in the past.
I remember many years ago there was a brief period in time where we first really discovered this show, and we were watching some of it.
We should, if you want to watch it recreationally, let me know. We'll watch it together because I know some episodes. I know some episodes.
I know one scene in particular that I think about a lot because people used it as a reaction for a lot of things.
Is it the Minecraft
It's
scene?
the minecart.
Yes.
So we'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back to Donkey Kong Country. But for now, let's talk about the legacy that this show had, if any. Because that's always what we do here on this show. We talk about the legacy of the show. That's one of my catchphrases.
He's saying it all the time. Hey guys, how about that show's legacy?
So this show, since I mentioned earlier that this show was a big hit in Japan, it may not surprise you too much to learn that there was a large merchandise range over there.
It does, because what?
Many, many pieces of Bluster Kong merchandise
No!
exist in Japan. I was watching a Peanut Butter Gamer episode yesterday where coincidentally he was reviewing a board game from Japan based on this show.
Oh, why?
And it had characters from the show, artwork of characters from the show, including Bluster
Everyone's
Kong.
favorite character, Bluster.
They made a card game. The weirdest thing to me, though, is that this show was still popular in Japan when Donkey Kong 64 came out. So
it was still going?
It wasn't still going, it was still popular. So they actually used merchandise from this show to promote Donkey Kong 64.
Weird.
So there were ads for Donkey Kong 64 featuring Bluster Kong in Japan.
No.
He's not in the game. Don't worry.
No, he's not.
But
we get something far worse.
There are a couple things from the game that made it. There are a couple of things from the show that made it into Donkey Kong 64.
Like what?
The crystal coconut.
I forgot about that.
So in the game, though, it's not a singular item, and it's nowhere near as important as it is in the show. They are just random collectibles, kind of akin to Kazooie's feathers. And also, in Donkey Kong 64, Cranky makes potions, which I guess is kind of a reference to the show.
I guess.
I mean, I don't know.
Since apparently he knows voodoo.
Voodoo undo. But here's a more recent legacy of the show that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that I think we can both be happier about. In Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm giving you this information secondhand because I haven't played the Switch version, so I don't know this myself.
Okay.
But apparently, in the Switch version, if you play as Funky Kong, who was added for the Switch version, you will hear the catchphrase, Banana Slammer.
All right.
I'm okay with that. I'll accept
if
it.
something had to come forward, that's okay.
Yeah, that'll be the one. Now, remember way earlier on I said there was something else that I had for us to talk about?
Oh no, I had forgotten.
Le Planète du Donkey Kong
Yes.
was a variety show that this show aired as part of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me find... I had a video I wanted to show you.
Oh no.
So, La Planète du Donkey Kong was a programming block that the Donkey Kong show aired on when it aired on France 2 in France. This was a show hosted by the Donkey Kong characters.
Okay.
So it was all mocap. It was using the mocap technology from the show for the hosts to be the Donkey Kong characters superimposed onto a live action set. where they were hosting this show. And they would interact with real people. They would do interviews and things. They did little skits that were parodies of different movies and stuff.
Vous êtes sur DKTV.
Et les gongs sur DKTV, les meilleures choses n'ont jamais de fin, puisque le programme continue.
These
encore
faces
et
that
encore.
Donkey Kong
Encore
is
plus de rire
making
avec
just
le
remind me of like
même
Homer's
les
crazy
Parker Lewis,
face.
suivi de l'intrépide échevelé chevelu Hercule Contreras.
Salut les gars, salut les filles. Aujourd'hui, j'ai l'immense plaisir d'accueillir pour vous un garçon que j'adore. On a fait les 400 coups ensemble, il est né le même jour que moi, et comme moi, il aime les rillettes. C'est le nouveau prince de la Pop on the Rocks music, monsieur Pascal Obispo.
So this is a real person doing all this.
This is a real person.
Un peu de sérieux, t'as commencé ta carrière comment?
Par un disque.
Par un disque?
Plus sérieusement, j'ai commencé dans un bar en jouant de la comptoir music. Ensuite, j'ai pris 2-3 cours de piano, et maintenant je fais dans la Pop and the Rocks.
Why is he always standing on his hands?
T'as écrit pour Zazu,
Well, I guess
Jenny
'cause he's a
Holiday,
monkey.
Florent Pagnier, tes journées sont bien remplies, dis-moi. Mais tu écris quand pour toi?
La nuit, quand je suis seul dans ce grand lit froid et que je pense à vous, les filles.
On va s'arrêter là. avant que ce soit
Okay.
So it's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's all over the place. It's very loud. It's very fast. I didn't understand because they're interviewing somebody, but the person they're interviewing is
A celebrity and not Donkey Kong.
yeah, but he's also in the Donkey Kong mocap suit, I guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just a celebrity who was like, "Hey, can I be in the mocap suit? I really want to be in the mocap suit."
I don't want to be hanging out with an ape and not be an ape myself. That's weird.
For anybody who just heard that, who doesn't speak French, sorry. We had a subtitled version, but you can just, if you don't speak French, just bask in the madness that you just heard.
Trust me, it doesn't matter.
No, I don't think it really matters. All that you really miss by not having the subtitles is not realizing that the person being interviewed isn't Donkey Kong, but is Donkey Kong. I'm just so baffled by it.
It's very strange.
This show aired from 1996 to 2001.
Wow, that's
5 years. 3 years longer than the Donkey Kong Country cartoon lasted.
What?
Yeah.
Why did they keep this if there was no cartoon?
I don't know. You think I know? I don't think anybody knows.
No.
Oh no, it's weird actually, because in France, they only got the first season originally. The second season and third seasons were both exclusive to English, to the point that by the time they finally translated those 2 seasons for France, they couldn't get the original voice actors anymore.
They were too famous from their role in Donkey Kong.
The cast of La Planète du Donkey Kong, for some reason, was a different cast than the cast of the actual show. Like, the French cast of Donkey Kong Country, the cartoon, is different than the French cast of La Planète du Donkey Kong. For
Right.
reasons I can't understand. Maybe because No, I don't know.
The show has changed hands so many times. I don't think anybody understands anything about it anymore.
No. Who knows? Well, I guess we've said everything I had to say about Donkey Kong at this point. Do you have any more to add?
No. No, other than what I've witnessed with my 2 eyeballs. I have nothing.
We've done it. We've survived Donkey Kong.
And we'll be back for more someday.
We've survived his bad hair day.
We're gluttons for punishment.
Yeah, we definitely have to come back to it because we didn't even see Dixie. We have to see what they did with Dixie in this show.
And boy, will we.
Oh boy, will we. I think that's it though. Everybody else, it looks like they didn't. I've got a list of characters up now, and it looks like Dixie's the only game character in the show who wasn't in this episode.
Yeah, something tells me that there's not a wide and varied cast for this.
No, by design. They weren't allowed a wide and varied cast for this.
Guys, we can't do any more monkey skins. If we introduce a new character, it's just put a hat on him.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, on this excursion.
On this trip to hell and back again.
This trip to the Congo Bongo.
Apparently.
Apparently.
Where
They did say it.
happens off screen.
They did say it
They
about 4
did.
times,
They said
and
it a
we
couple
didn't
times.
even take it in. I didn't take it in until probably the 3rd time they mentioned it.
I still haven't taken it in, quite frankly.
Because it doesn't sound like a place.
No, it doesn't.
It's hard to take in.
Even the Bongo Congo is better.
Yes.
But we were small babies and could not write for this show, so imperfect it shall remain.
Unlike now when we're in hot demand.
Listen, I got people lining up outside my door. They're tax collectors, but we don't need to mention that part. Cut it. Cut it from the final.
No, it's in. That's the whole episode now. So, follow us on YouTube, where you're probably hearing this, because as of
It's
right
the
now...
only place it exists.
Well, at the moment, I was going to put it on podcasting services, but I can't afford the hosting. Hello again, it's me, temporarily displaced Mike. All that stuff I just said is no longer true. We are now on Spotify and iTunes and Google Podcasts. Go find us. Sometimes you can find longer versions of the episodes, slightly like 30 seconds longer. It's great. So don't feel the need to donate to us if you want to get our podcasts on your podcast machine, because they're already there. However, if you want to give us some money anyway, on patreon.com/this show, we're planning on making some extra stuff. I want to do some short Patreon exclusive episodes that focus on some of the online shorts that exist that are too short to make a real show about. And hey, if we do really well, I've got an idea for a spin-off podcast that we could do too. But don't tell Belle, it's a secret. Okay, well, go back to the episode now. Bye. So,
dang.
If you want to help us afford to host this on iTunes and Spotify and wherever other hot podcasts go, I didn't mean to say hot, but now I said it.
If you know some sexy podcasts and you would like to make us a sexy podcast, give us money.
Please head over to patreon.com/Super Breakfast Friends Club and
good job.
Sign up for giving us money.
Because, as I mentioned, the tax collectors, they're numerous and very persistent.
A portion of the proceeds of every donation go to Mel.
And my deep, deep debts.
And you can also find us on Twitter, where Super Breakfast Friends Club was too long for a Twitter handle. So you can find us at SBreakfastFC. I hope that some people will mistake it for Breakfast Football Club.
I was not aware that that was the handle you wound up with.
It's the only thing that could fit.
I love it. It's horrible.
It's the worst and it's perfect.
Because we're the worst.
Come join us for more of the worst.
Your money is going to a good cause.
Do you think we should put in a hint about what the next one is?
I don't know. I would think that it would need to be like a riddle. Riddle me this. I couldn't think of any funny Sonics.
See if you can figure it out from that. Bye! You ready to talk about Donkey Kong?
I've been waiting for this moment for years, quite frankly. For nigh on a decade, whenever you first introduced me to this horrible mess of a cartoon. There's
Good.
like a slow creeping obsession that I have with it.